Hey guys, welcome back. Russell Linville here, sports physical therapist. Today we'll do something a little different. We're going to go over this article here. This is a systematic review from Camille Tooth et al. Out of Sports Health in 2020. This is a great article. I really like this as a starting point, and I routinely have students reference this article when they're starting off or new PTs starting off to get an idea of maybe what are some of the risk factors seen in overhead athletes. And in particular, this systematic review is looking at several articles that go over risk factors for shoulder injuries in overhead athletes. And one of the reasons I like it is it's not just baseball players that are involved in this systematic review. They also look at volleyball, handball, basketball, swimming, water polo, badminton, and tennis. And so with some of the risk factors that we find, and these are things that you guys can probably intuitively come up with, but they actually, these studies that they reference have pretty hard data on risk factors in terms of things like objective range of motion, like lack of range of motion or excess range of motion. Also looks at things like objective strength measurements, which we'll go over in future videos of how I do some handheld dynamometry, and that's based off of some of these risk factor studies as well. And so outside of that, though, you know, what I think is probably the biggest risk factor is spikes in workload, and I see that both anecdotally and through literature. And so not only does range of motion matter, or should we say maybe lack of range of motion when you go to do something like throw or swim, that sort of thing, coupled with essentially weakness, maybe the two things in combination plus a spike in workload is really what leads to the most obvious pathway to a repetitive overuse injury. And so reading an article like this can really spark some interest, and you can go down, which I do a lot, is go down a rabbit hole of, I look at a study and then I find a reference in that study, and then I go to the next study, and then I go to the next study, and so you just dive deeper and deeper and deeper. But one of the things I like about this systematic review is, as most systematic reviews have, is they have our summary charts, and this is actually in a landscape view, so you might have to turn your computer or tilt your head to see this better, but I'd encourage you just to, of course, download the article. But this goes over several studies, and of course it looks at different sports, as we mentioned before. The first section here is on baseball, and it gets into swimming and other sports, of course, but it goes over kind of the summary of risk factors during an objective exam that you might find. So again, this is a great starting point for a systematic review on risk factors for throwing injuries, or should I say overhead athlete shoulder injuries. And there's also risk factor studies out there on elbow as well, and so I encourage you to look those studies up too. But give this one a look. If you have another article that you like and that you think would benefit kind of this discussion of risk factors and things like that, please leave the reference in the comments. I'd love to look those articles up as well and have some sort of discussion regarding it. So I appreciate you guys tuning in, and thanks a lot. And this is Russell Linville signing off.